India are 270 for 3, so they lead by 171 runs. Today, therefore, Andy Zaltzman, they have added...
Today they've added 227 in 76 overs for 3 wickets.
There we go. So definitely their day. Rahul made a very good 46. He and Sharma added 60. But, interesting one this. I mean, I must admit, I thought it was out. And if you look at the spike from the third umpire at the time that the ball passes the bat, it looked as if Rahul had edged the ball off Anderson to Bairstow. But he disputed it. He didn't like it. He was tapping his bat with his pad, but he was actually suggesting that his bat hit the back pad. And if you line up where the ball was and the spikes were and so on, that didn't seem to be possible. So anyway, he was given out for 46 and chunted on his way. Then that really good stand, really, that dominated the day of 153 between Rohit Sharma and Pujara, with Rohit playing absolutely beautifully, actually. It was his first Test century, of course, outside of Asia. He hit a 6 and 14 fours before he got out in a really strange way. It was the first ball of the new ball, actually, and he got through the shot as a tired long hop, really, from Robinson. He got through a pull shot just too early and towed it, and the ball lobbed down to long leg where Woakes took the catch. It was a really strange end to what had been an absolutely beautiful innings. So he was out for 127, the first ball that he had faced with the second new ball. In came Kohli, faced 4 balls, got a single off the last of those 4, and so the first ball that Pujara then faced with the second new ball, he got inside edge into his pad. The ball bounced away for Moeen to catch in the gully area, third slip. England were convinced it was out. The umpire wasn't, and neither was Pujara, but you just saw his face when England decided to review it. I think he knew that there was a chance that he was going to be struggling, that there would be that telltale spike would be revealed, and sure enough that was the case. So Pujara was out for 61, so Robinson took 2 wickets in 5 balls with that second new ball, and suddenly England were back in the game, and the Oval was rocking. I must say the atmosphere was absolutely buzzing down there, both sets of supporters and so on. But Kohli and Jadeja weathered that particular storm. Kohli finished on 22. He played a couple of beautiful drives off a rather labouring Jimmy Anderson. He and Ollie Robinson have both bowled an enormous amount in this last 10 days, over 70 overs each, and I thought it starts to show, I must say, in that session. Jadeja, again, doing a very good job, just blunting things, really. Finished on 11, so 270 for 3, a lead of 171, still 2 days to go. Let's start with Michael Vaughan. Well, again, it's been a great day, isn't it? And one that well, I'll tell you what we did at the start of the day. We said that today would give us a bit of an insight into how things are in the Indian dressing room and the confidence of the batsmen. If they bat it out, you know that all is well and they can do it. But if they get bowled out today, then they've really got some issues. Well, they've shown that all appears to be pretty good in there.
Yeah, on days 1 and 2, I think we've been right to criticise some of the batting. You know, I think the ball's moved a lot more than what we've seen today, but you know, I think you saw last night with that foundation that Rahul and Rohit set for this Indian side. That was the key in the second innings for India to get through last evening. They ended the day's play, no wickets down, and again the first hour this morning was going to be key, and they came out and played with great clarity and calmness, and that creates the foundation. It also sends the message back to the dressing room that, you know, this is a good pitch and there's runs to be had out there. And I just thought they played with great tempo. You know, it's not surprised me that England have struggled, you know, because the ball hasn't been swinging around. There's been no lateral movement. The odd ball's nipped off the seam. But I guess this is a little bit of a concern and a worry for me, not just in this game going forward, but to the future in a few months' time in Australian conditions, when the ball won't be swinging all over the place. It won't be zipping off the seam. And a 4-man seam attack that we're seeing bowling around 82 to 84 miles an hour, trying to kind of wear them down on length. It's absolutely fine when it's swinging around, but England were lacking today in terms of variation and, you know, that go-to bowler, that difference. The spin of Moeen Ali had no real effect. And full credit to India from 120 for 7 in the first innings. Yes. They now arrive on day 4 well in front in the Test match.
Yeah. Well, Deep. Again, it's like a roller coaster, this game, this whole series.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, till the second new ball was taken, I mean, looking really comfortable. Rohit and Pujara, it was like everything was so nice and calm and easy for India. But then and those, I mean, especially that 81st over, I mean, that just changed everything around, and suddenly this game looks a little closer than what it was at that point in time. But yeah, I mean, credit to Rohit and KL Rahul to set that platform, and that's what they've done right through this series. That's been absolutely fabulous to see that the Indian openers in these conditions have been so good. Again, this game, and then from there on, Pujara, as we've mentioned, I mean, last couple of innings, he's just looked a different batter altogether. A lot more proactive, playing his shots. I mean, today he played that ramp as well.
Yes.
Honest to God, I don't remember him playing that shot at all. I don't remember seeing him play that. And then, drives and stuff like that. So it's that, as you mentioned, that says a lot about the mindset and the confidence in that dressing room.
We'll carry on our review in a second. I'm about to say goodbye to our Radio 4 long-wave listeners just in about 10 seconds or so. We're back tomorrow, of course, 10:15 and 10:45 on Radio 4 long-wave for live coverage of the fourth day of this Test match, with India leading by 171. But for now, I'll say goodbye to our long-wave listeners who are off for their shipping forecast. So we'll carry on. Yeah, I mean, do you think he has sort of felt the need to press on a bit and to show, because there has been this chat in the background, hasn't it?
True, and credit to him that under pressure he's kind of rediscovered himself. Maybe that was good in a way, that he was kind of forced to get out of his comfort zone and try to redefine and rediscover. But again, credit to him that after so many years and after getting so much of success in the way he batted, he's kind of done that again at this stage in his career, and which is really, really good to see. And not just from him, his perspective, from India's perspective, I mean, this is just great news. I mean, today, again, you saw what Indian middle order, Indian batting is all about, which we haven't really seen, much of it in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Just watching the umpires, and they're still loitering, but they seem to be making steps now to head towards the dressing room, and there will be no more play today. We can be absolutely sure of that. What do you make of Pujara 2.0?
Well, in the second innings in the series, he's played really well, and I think there's many reasons for that. I think there's two very simple reasons. The ball hasn't swung as much. When the ball's swinged around, I think he's still very vulnerable. And in the second innings of pretty much every Test match, the ball hasn't swung as much, and he looks more of a threat. And also a mindset change. Clearly, his failure in the first innings, and a lot of occasions, has been kind of a timid kind of prod outside off stump. He's probably had a couple of nights to sleep, and I'm going to play differently in the second innings. It's happened on a continuous basis throughout the series. I thought he played really well today. I think he's up against an England attack. I think you've mentioned Jimmy Anderson and Ollie Robinson, the amount of overs that they've bowled. They've just seemed to have lost that oomph, that little bit of zip that you see in bowlers, and that's understandable with the amount of overs that they've bowled over the last few weeks. I think it's fascinating. I've got to give India a huge amount of credit, because this Indian side, they have been questioned. I will still say they've got the wrong team. Having no Ashwin in that side, it is still wrong. But from that and the criticism that they've taken from Headingley to the first innings here, they've suddenly found that inner confidence and belief to get in the game. I'll go back to that 290 that England scored, and I think we might be talking about that on day 5 is when England really troubled themselves in this Test match. Moeen Ali's dismissal, controlling the game. It was an awful stroke in the situation of the game, and 290 was so far under the par England should have got. And if England had got another 80 or 90, I don't think India would have had any chance of forcing the issue, because that lead would have been 180, far too many. But 99 on a pitch that we've seen being played yesterday and now today, it's just one partnership, one nice partnership, and that platform at the start. And ominous signs, because Virat Kohli looks like he's back in the mood, he's back in the kind of groove of batting. India hot favourites from here, Aggers. I mean, only twice in the history at this ground has 250 been chased down over 250. I think one was back in 1902 and one by the West Indies in the 1980s. So history is against England, because they will get more than 250. And as this pitch wears, and the sun, I believe, is going to beat down on day 4 and day 5, spin will play more of a part.
We'll talk about Rohit Sharma in a second, but I'm just looking at this score here, at the scorecard deep, and Jadeja's come up again. We wondered in the first innings whether it was just a temporary thing and left hand, right hand, but actually, well, no. I mean, he's number 5 again.
That's right, and obviously it could be because of one, the way he's been batting right through this series. I think he's looked really compact, nice, and well balanced and everything, and in form, to be honest. He might not have scored a lot of big runs, but once that, and secondly the left-hand right-hand combination, which is not a bad idea at all, but I just wonder what it does for someone like Ajinkya Rahane's confidence.
Yes, exactly.
But now that it has happened in the second innings as well, I'm sure the team management, the captain, the coach would have had the time to have a sit down and have a chat with Ajinkya about the whole process, because he still is a very important part of this team. I do understand that he hasn't scored a lot of runs, but he's still the vice captain. He's part of the leadership group. One of the most experienced batters there, and still has a role to play in this series.
Yeah. So Rohit Sharma then, this monkey on his back has been, hasn't there, about them having scored a century outside Asia. Well, I'll tell you what, he scored a rather lovely one today. If that's his first one. Oh,
wonderful. He makes batting look so easy. It's just unfair. It's just unfair. And again, when he put his bat up after that 100, it was like, obviously he's extremely happy and everything else, but some part of him was relieved as well, as you mentioned, that that monkey's off his back finally, not having scored 100, and this was his, I think, 23rd or 24th test match, so the sample size is not small either. So that's a pretty big sample size. So
and it does start, those things like that are just sort of go-to phrases that people remember. And so it's just always there, isn't it? Someone talks about Rohit Sharma, comma, who's never scored 100 outside Asia, comma, and on you go, and it's just there all the time.
And especially someone like Rohit, who's achieved so much in cricket, predominantly let's say white ball, but even in Test match cricket of it, he's achieved so much. And for someone as big an achiever as he is, he wouldn't want those commas and asterisks and conditions apply and all that stuff against his name. I think, I'm sure a big part of him would be relieved as well after this 100.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, magnificent. I like watching stylish players. I like watching players that make the pressure situation seem not like any pressure at all. And Rohit Sharma's that player. I can't imagine what it feels like to bowl to him. And you charge in, you try and get as much effort into that delivery. You bowl at around 85 miles an hour, and then Rohit just plays like a forward defence as if you've just bowled at 3 miles an hour. And he also plays strokes that whips it through the onside, and it's kind of that look that he goes, that was rubbish. That really was a rubbish delivery. I just think he must be so frustrating for bowlers to bowl to, because he has got all the time, he's got all the strokes. That was a magnificent century, and anyone that brings up their 100 in that kind of fashion, you've got something about you.
Well, the umpires are going off. There hasn't yet been the inevitable announcement, but that will follow almost immediately, I think, because if the players aren't on the field at 6 o'clock, which of course it now absolutely is, then that's it. So the umpires are walking slowly up towards the dressing rooms. They'll just, I think, wave, they'll make a signal to each dressing room, say that is it, and then we'll hear an announcement in a second over the PA. And people who are still hanging around, and the Indian supporters down there, they come in very colourful shirts today, and well, they're not leaving quite yet. And they've got their
ready to party.
Well, I think they are. I think if they're back tomorrow, they'll be ready to party.
Oh yeah, they're in a position with their team. They could go a long way to winning the series over the next 2 days. You win this Test match with Old Trafford to come. You never know what the weather's going to be like at Old Trafford. I think India will be fancying this, and they've got to grab this chance. It's a great opportunity to win the game from this position and go 2-1 up in the series.
There you are. So that's the announcement that's being made over the ground. Well, they're still waving and cheering down there. Well, how long have they been around? This group, this Bharat Army. How long have they been on the scene for?
They've been around for a while. I guess 6-7 years. Maybe started from around that 2014-15 Australia series. Was an individual who, I guess, started this and got his friends together. Now it's just a big group of people. Yeah. And I won't be surprised if they've turned into a company or something and got a lot more organised now, for sure.
But they'll be back tomorrow, and as will a full house too, to come and enjoy things here on Sunday, with India leading by 171. That's confirmed. That's the close of play for this third day on 270 for 3. I haven't really talked to you, Michael, about that Rahul dismissal. I mean, were you happy with it? It all seemed a bit odd, didn't it? But he was determined that he hadn't hit it.
Yeah, I thought at first that it clipped his pad. So I could understand his frustration, but the more that you see the TV replays, it's quite clear that his bat was away from his pad. I think he clipped his bat kind of hip coming through quite early. but the actual the tracker and the little spike, it's right in sync with the outside edge of the bat. It's obviously just a little feather. Good review by Joe Root. The one concern I had today, and it's quite a big concern, I guess, with this bowling attack for England, was that it actually took them to go into tee, to then come out after tee and produce a different kind of approach in terms of going around the wicket and bowling short, trying to create a little bit of some kind of doubt in the batter's mind. Again, I'll have my question marks of how does it take this team with so much experience to have to go back into the dressing room before they come out and change the tactics. And with the attack that they have, again, in a few months' time, and Old Trafford, if you get on a flat one, surely they have to understand that they're going to have to go to that plans, B, C and D quicker when the ball's not swinging. If it's swinging, absolutely fine, they've got a great attack. But when the ball stops swinging and it's not nipping off the seam, this team have to come up with some kind of tactics quite quickly, because in Australia it's not going to be swinging.
No.
So they have to start realise, all right, they might change personnel and bring Mark Wood in, or they might bring Sam Curran, a left arm over, a little bit of an angle change, but they have to start thinking before it happens out in the middle. They have to start talking as a group, right, okay, if it's not swinging, it's not seeing, what do we go to try and make life difficult? We didn't see once today them bowling wide of off stump and packing the offside and saying, I tell you what, we'll pack the offside and we're going to bowl full outside off stump and try and get them driving away from the body. So these are the kind of things that I watched today and thought, wait a minute, there's a lot of work tactically in that dressing room with that bowling unit to be able to come up with plans that when they get in situations like they found themselves today, when it's not swinging, they've got to come up with a few more plans sooner than they did this afternoon.
Yeah, and part of the problem is without pace, to run up and bowl short at these good players. I know you can obviously put the field set for it,
but it's worth trying. And after tea, Craig Overton around the wicket, it's the first time really throughout the day that Rohit Sharma played a little jab pull shot and it just looped to Chris Woakes. It only just fell short of him, and it was the first time in the day that we thought, oh wait a minute, Pujara played a pull shot and he missed it. Up until that point, that pair had played with so much. They played really without sweating. They just kind of just batted. It was so comfortable on the front foot coming forward, and that's why they've got to start thinking quicker and sooner, and realising that these situations that they found themselves today will happen. It may happen in a week. It'll certainly happen in a few months in Australia. So they have to try and come up with a few tactics.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, I think Michael. I totally agree with Michael. I mean, when the pitch is doing a bit and the ball's doing a bit, England do have the resources there, but. Perhaps he's throwing ahead to Brisbane or something like that when the ball is going to be doing nothing.
So when you have got Rohit out thrice in this series playing that pull shot, I don't remember any of the bowlers trying a short pitch or a bouncer. So once you have a fielder placed and everything else, you've already telegrammed it to Rohit, this is our plan. But every now and then, it's, I think, worth a try, bowl a short pitch and see what's the worst that can happen. Going for a 6, but anyways, I mean, he said he's scoring runs any which way. I think it's worth a try, especially someone like Rohit, who's a compulsive puller. He plays the shot well, and he does not shy away from playing that shot. Just give it a go.
Yeah.
I mean, Agus, as a bowler, a similar kind of, at your pump you were a bit quicker, I guess, but
well,
genuinely you bowl.
Yeah,
but you bowl 80. how can and you as a seam bowler, what advice can you? Is it possible that you can bowl a quicker bouncer, like an 86 miles an hour, just that effort bouncer? Because I look at this attack and think, brilliant. When the ball's swinging, I'd hate to face them.
Yes.
But I tell you what, when it stops swinging, I'd fancy I'd get a couple now.
Yeah.
Because it's just nice, that 80 miles an hour, 82 miles an hour. Is it possible to bowl that bouncer that you think, I remember Dominic Cork used to have this awful bouncer. Don't know where it came from. It just hit you. It was like, I don't like that.
Yeah,
but his length ball was 78, 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think you can. Can't you? If you do have a high action, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, let's not forget. I guess that apart from Wood now, but the other one who runs in and bowls short and aggressive spells is Ben Stokes, isn't it? I mean, you just look at England's attack at the moment. Just someone who can say, give it that ball, And you're right about plans changing, and it seemed to me that the crowd needed almost to get England going a bit this afternoon, because it was all a bit repetitive, and it was all rather the same. Once the crowd got engaged, but Stokes is the sort of person who bowls those aggressive spells.
Wonder. I mean, same thing with India as well. They haven't been too open to trying out different plans either. Maybe because they've got wickets rather easily. Last year, I wouldn't say easy. I mean, comparatively, they haven't really had to work that hard. The Indian bowlers per se, last couple of years, they've done really well picking up wickets rather, quickly. Maybe that's one thing. The other thing is, as in Michael mentioned about bowling that outside off stump, that can be a little boring.
Yes.
But at times you've got to be boring.
Test the patience.
You have to be boring to win test matches. It can't be always being, nice and aggressive and getting that ball to swing around or bounce. Maybe from time to time you just have to try something different.
Moeen, stroke Leach. I mean, the trouble is that you're looking at the batting then, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, if Stokes were to come back, you then at least do have a choice, I guess, between playing Moeen or playing Leach, as long as Stokes can bowl. I mean, we never quite know. He doesn't often bowl sort of in 2 full innings in a test match.
Yeah, I mean, Moeen Ali is a really nice off spinner. The conditions as we speak are not really offering too much. There's no footholds outside the right-handers off stump. He's yet really to bowl too many balls to a left-hander. So I don't think it's the kind of pitch where Moeen would have too much success. Days 4 and 5, he may have a little bit more, but yeah, further down the line again at Old Trafford or in the winter, I think left arm spin and Jack Leach, and if Ben Stokes comes back into the team, of course it allows England that option. It's so difficult to kind of balance the side up when you don't have a Ben Stokes, but you do have a Chris Woakes in English conditions now. And Chris Woakes' all-round record in the UK is as good as Ben Stokes. So England do have a high-class all-rounder in these conditions. I don't know what's happened with Jack Leach from the winter, where I thought he was very, very good. He's not even bowled a ball for England this summer. So that is for England to decide upon. But, again, you go to Australia. Again, you go to Manchester in a week's time. There's a lot of right-handers in this Indian batting lineup, and surely you may think, if you haven't got the pace option, Wood might come in, but you haven't got that. You need an angle change. You need something a little bit different.
Deep, I think you'll sleep well tonight, won't you? You'll be dreaming of Virat Kohli scoring 100 tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be dreaming of that or not, but yeah, I mean, definitely yes. I think India's in a much better situation right now in this Test match than they were in the last couple of days. So yeah, definitely yes. And we mentioned about this third day being very, very crucial, not just from the Test perspective, but also from the series perspective. And I'm sure Indian and Indian supporters would be very happy the way India has gone about playing day 3.
Well, Deep, you said it on TV highlights this morning. You said day 3 is moving day, and it generally is moving day, and there's one team that's moved forward.
True.
And that is India. England have just moved a little bit the other way, which is a bit backwards.
See you tomorrow, Deep. Thanks very much. I think Andy's going to come in there with some statistical input in a second. It feels like a Kohli day tomorrow. It feels like a sort of day when a captain who's got a bit to prove, and he is that sort of character, isn't he?
Yeah, it felt like a heroic morning. When he played that drive down the ground in the first over of the day off Jimmy Anderson, it just felt, oh, wait a minute, Rohit Sharma looks in the mood. I think, the second innings at Headingley, the first innings here, he started nicely in the second innings here. He looks like he's got his game. He looks like he's got his movements. He looks like he's found that off stump and he knows what to leave. And he's played, I find it quite bizarre actually, he played 2 of the most beautiful cover drives off Jimmy Anderson. One went square and one went through extra cover, and at the end of that over, they said it's too dark for Jimmy to carry on bowling. He's just played the most beautiful.
Keep him on.
Well, that's Test cricket for you. We seem to always find a way of getting off the pitch.
Great. Go on then, Michael. Thank you, Rush. You've got work to do down there. Andy's whizzing through all sorts of bits and pieces here. Got about 30 seconds, Andy. Some sort of statistical...
Well, let's pay tribute to Rohit Sharma's fine innings. His first Test century outside Asia. He has 7 in India. The first 50 took 145 balls, had moved to 3 figures and just 59 more deliveries. And the opening partnership he's had with KL Rahul, they've had 3 partnerships of 80 or more in the series. And in the entire history of touring teams coming to England, they're only the 8th touring team to have 3 or more partnerships of 80 or more for the first wicket in a series in England. Only the 3rd in the last 29 summers. Australia did it in 2015, and Bangladesh in a 2-test series in 2010. So superb effort from him and Rahul this series. Ollie Robinson has now taken 28 wickets in just 5 tests. He's in the top 10 most wickets by an England bowler in his first 5 tests, and has taken at least 2 in 9 of 10 innings. Only a handful of bowlers have done that for England. 9 2+ wicket hauls in their first 10 innings. Graham Swan, Alec Bedser, Tom Richardson, Surrey legend in the late 19th century, Maurice Tate, And here's one for you, Ken Higgs, who did it in all 10 of his first
really?
10 Test innings.
There you go, dear old Higgy. Thanks, Andy, very much. As a reminder then, 270 for 3, so India lead by 171.